About a week ago, I asked you to ask me anything, and you responded in force with over 300 questions. Before I get to the answers, I just want to say once again, thank you so much for your viewership. We've got a ton of creative and smart and funny people following the channel now, over 100,000. I really appreciate all of the feedback and ideas, suggestions, and support you give. Here's some of the questions you ask. A lot of people just wanted to know about my background, and I don't mind going into some of that because you can probably figure it out on Google anyway. I am a civil engineer for a private consulting firm in Austin, Texas. Grew up in a very small town in the Texas Panhandle. I have an undergraduate degree in geography from Texas State University. Got some exposure to engineering during an internship and decided that was for me, so I went to graduate school and got a master's degree in civil engineering from Texas A&M University. I am married to an awesome woman who teaches kindergarten here in Austin and helps me in some of my videos. Are you a licensed PE? No, I'm not yet. I will take the PE exam this October, so if all goes well, I'll be licensed by the end of the year. What's your day-to-day look like? Well, I am fundamentally a machine that converts coffee into construction documents. I work with a group that is focused on dams and hydraulic structures. Every once in a while we work on a brand new dam, but for the most part it's designing rehabilitation projects for aging structures, technical studies like alternatives analysis and feasibility reports, and dam safety inspections. It's mainly a desk job, but I am out in the field at least a few times a month if I've got a project under construction or an inspection to do. I love my job. Working on dams is very multidisciplinary within civil engineering, which I like, and the firm I work for is very competitive in that market, so we get to see a lot of very cool projects. That being said, I do try to maintain some separation between my work and my hobby of making videos because I'm not an expert in the topics my videos cover. I do this as a hobby for your entertainment. I don't want anyone taking my word as gospel and designing or building something that isn't safe. In other words, yes, I do use my foundation of engineering knowledge to make these videos, but I am not making them as a professional engineer, and that's a critical distinction because of the ethics code for engineers. Sorry for the surprise disclaimer. A lot of questions about why I chose civil engineering and would I go back and change it if I could? Absolutely not. I love civil engineering. I've loved construction since I was a kid. I love the physical scale of the projects. Just about every part of civil engineering is done to satisfy basic needs like providing shelter and fresh water, providing sanitation, protection from flooding, improving transportation, etc. I'm a simple guy. For me, that's a very easy line to draw. I know that not all civil projects are taking us one step closer to utopia, but I go home at the end of every day feeling like I probably did something to make the world a tiny bit better, and that's important to me. Lots of questions about how I got into making YouTube videos. It's pretty simple. My father-in-law gave me some of his woodworking tools. I wanted to learn to use them, so I got on YouTube and I just kind of fell head first into this whole world of guys doing really cool stuff and making videos about it. That looked like a lot of fun, so I made my own video about a bowl I turned on the lathe, which is still up there, and so I just started making woodworking videos for fun. And at the same time, I started doing career day at my wife's elementary school every year, and I would build these demonstrations to show the kids about some concept of engineering. And the teachers would always come up to me afterwards and say how much they learned from my presentations to the kids. And it just kind of dawned on me that most people don't have a lot of exposure to the field of engineering. I know I didn't when I was a kid, which is why I have an undergraduate liberal arts degree. And I really enjoy building stuff to demonstrate engineering concepts in a way that's hopefully accessible to people who don't have that technical background. So in February of this year, I named my YouTube channel Practical Engineering and started making videos about engineering topics, and that turned out to be a really cool idea. It's been a lot of fun so far. If money were no object, what projects would you do? This is a tough question. The money from my Patreon supporters is usually enough to cover the supplies for the next video, which is awesome. But like I said, this is just my hobby. The resources that I can spend on it are definitely limited. I try not to make a big deal about the Patreon campaign, but these guys are really making it possible for me to put out the quality of content that I do. I really appreciate them. I rely on them to bounce ideas off of and get feedback. If I suddenly had a ton of new Patreon supporters and a huge budget, I have a ton of things I think would make interesting videos like larger scale destructive testing, experiments that require airplanes, traveling to different places to show interesting structures and or factories and or research labs, etc. A bigger budget would also allow me to contract someone to do graphic design and video editing, which are kind of the parts that slow me down, so I could put content out more frequently. Some questions about how I make videos, how I choose topics, and how long they take me. I choose topics for videos just based on what I find interesting. Wikipedia is like a drug to me. I'm sure a lot of you are the same way, where you just end up in these crazy rabbit holes, and I just keep a running list of stuff I think would make a cool video. And honestly, that list grows quite a bit faster than I can make videos, so I don't think I'll ever be wanting for topics. As far as making the videos, hopefully it's not too obvious that I have no idea what I'm doing. I do a bunch of research on the topic and try to boil that down as best I can for a script. I don't have any formal training in filmmaking, I'm just kind of learning this as I go along. I use a Panasonic G6 for most of my video, I use Vegas to edit, Audacity to record narration, and Inkscape for most of the drawings and diagrams. Again, these videos are just a hobby, so I don't put a lot of pressure on myself as far as timeline goes. I just try to finish one about once a month. Tons of questions about engineering as a career field. What's the pay? What's the demand? If you're in high school looking at engineering as a career, or you're trying to pick a major in college, or you're thinking about going back to school, I highly recommend you check out the Occupational Outlook Handbook. This is put out by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, but I think a lot of this info is probably relevant outside the U.S. as well. This is online, it has a ton of career paths, the median salary, demand forecast, information about what the day-to-day looks like, etc. It's an awesome, free resource, very simple to browse around, just the basic facts that are most important when you're trying to make a decision like that. Someone had a suggestion about making a video that just explains the differences between types of engineers, and I think that's a really cool idea. I'll put that on my list and see what I can come up with. A whole bunch of questions about unit systems, both my preference and how I use them in my videos. Apparently, imperial versus metric is like religion and politics for engineers on the internet. It's an argument that happens on every single one of my videos. I use imperial units at work. I think in feet and inches and pounds and kips. I understand the benefits of the SI unit system, however, I just don't work in an industry where it gets used. But I can see that only about half the people who watch my videos are in the US, so you probably noticed that on the last video I used both unit systems side by side, and I'll continue doing that in the future so that no one has to do unit conversions in their head. I get a few questions about video games. I don't play a ton of games, but I do think they have a lot of potential to develop intuitions and acuity, which are normally skills that only come after decades of experience. I feel fairly confident that the people playing Kerbal Space Program probably have as good of intuition about orbital mechanics as the engineers who design orbits for a living. Learning the math is easy once you already understand at a fundamental level how things behave. Same thing with Minecraft and spatial skills, space chem and algorithms, World of Goo and structures, etc. Do you wish you could redo any videos? Great question. I did the groundwater video before I rebranded the channel, and I think it would be cool to redo that one with a more cohesive lesson on groundwater flow because that's such a cool demonstration. Otherwise, it would be nice to go back and fix all the minor errors and typos I've made in the other videos. Favorite YouTube channels? For the big ones, I like AVE, Applied Science, ClickSpring, Frank Howarth, John Heitz, and Peter Brown. For the smaller channels, I like This Old Tony, Sam Shepard, and the Way Out West Blowin' blog. If you were a soup, what soup would you be? Fish soup. How many Grady's do you know? I did know one other one, now I know two. Advice for someone just entering the workplace? Ask a lot of questions. If engineering wasn't an option, what career field would you choose? Astronaut. If I didn't get to your questions on this video, I will do my best to answer it in the comments on the Q part. Again, huge thanks to all of you for watching these videos. It means a lot to me. You're what makes it fun for me. You're what keeps me motivated, so I really appreciate it.